The Quest 3 versus the PlayStation VR 2. Which headset is truly the best and should you get one? Let's dive right into it. Firstly, it is important to note that both of these headsets are very different from each other. Where the Meta Quest 3 is a hybrid VR headset, letting you play standalone games without needing any external hardware, while also being capable of connecting to a buff gaming computer to play PC VR games. While the PlayStation VR 2 is a console VR headset. That means that you need a PlayStation 5 to be able to use it. Although Sony did say that this is gonna change, but more on that later. Because to start this comparison, we will first look at the VR hardware, with the most important specs of any VR headset being of course the displays, where both headsets are rocking slightly above 2000 pixels per eye. The Quest 3 has the slight upper hand when it comes to the total amount of pixels. Although, a big plus for the PlayStation VR is that they are using an OLED screen instead of an LCD panel. That means they will be capable of showing much more vivid colors and deeper blacks that are just not achievable on the Quest 3 headset, making the graphics and overall quality on the PlayStation VR look much more vibrant. On top of that, the PlayStation VR 2 also has a slightly bigger field of view, meaning more parts of your vision are covered by the screen, although this increase is just slightly in comparison. Besides that, both headsets are also rocking the same refresh rates. But where we can see the main differences is when we look closer to the back of the headset, because the PlayStation VR 2 is using a hollow strap design that can be adjusted much more specifically and also creates a lot of increase in comfort, where the Quest 3 comes in with a basic elastic head strap. But of course, a downside of the PlayStation VR 2 is that attached to this head strap is their USB-C cable. That means that no matter what you do, the PlayStation VR 2 will always have to be tethered to your PlayStation 5. And this can definitely cause problems when walking around in your play space. Whereas the Quest 3 doesn't have any cables at all and can even be connected wirelessly when you want to play PC VR games. However, yet another big difference can be seen when we look towards the controllers, with Meta going for a complete ringless design, while the PlayStation VR 2 still has the ring attached to it, but does have much more focus when it comes to haptic feedback, making it feel much more immersive when you interact with virtual objects. But probably the biggest difference can be seen when we are looking at the software, because the Meta Quest 3 has a huge library of standalone VR games, while also having access to all PC VR titles on Steam VR. While on the other hand, the PlayStation VR 2 still has a lot of exclusive virtual reality games. Its total library is much smaller than that of Meta. On top of that, the Quest 3 also uses the cameras built on the outside of the headset to create mixed reality experiences, letting you see the outside world of your surroundings and mixing it with virtual objects. But even though this might not be available on PlayStation VR 2, there are also some big features that the Quest 3 does not have. For example, the PlayStation VR 2 is capable of eye tracking and foveated rendering. This means that the screen will be sharper in the places that you're looking at, which is very similar to how your eyes work in real life. And secondly, it also has haptic feedback built into the headset directly to create that extra immersion inside VR. And that's not even talking about the integrated headphones from PlayStation VR 2 that will create 3D audio effects, which are much higher quality than the built-in speakers on the Quest 3. And another important thing is that Sony announced themselves that their PlayStation VR 2 will soon be capable of also playing PC VR games, which could allow access to much more VR games than those that are available right now. But that gets us to the final conclusion. With both these headsets being about the same price depending on the country that you live in, it is clear to see that each has their own pros and cons. With the Quest 3 having a bigger VR library and already capabilities of playing PC VR games without being tethered to any external device, it seems like a great device for those who want to get into virtual reality, especially if you do not own a VR headset yet. But if you might already have a PlayStation 5 at home, then it might also be worth considering to get the PlayStation VR 2 headset, especially if you do not mind the cable and are also thinking of using it for PC VR content. But in the end, although very different from each other, both of these are absolute amazing VR headsets and are also one of the best electronic devices that you can get. But that's not all, because if you want to see the Quest 3 compared to some other VR headsets, then click on the video that you see on screen right now to make sure you don't miss out. And of course, stay awesome!